Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Greenlam Industries Limited Q3 FY21 earnings conference call. This conference call may contain forward-looking statements about the company which are based on the beliefs, opinions and expectations of the company as on date of this call. These statements are not the guarantees of future performance and involve risks and uncertainties that are difficult to predict. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Saurabh Mittal, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Greenlam Industries Limited. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Mittal.
Thank you. Good afternoon, friends. A very warm welcome to all of you all. I hope you're all keeping safe and healthy. On the call, I'm joined by Ashok, our CFO, Samarth from the finance team, and SGA, our investor relations advisor. The results and presentations are available on the stock exchanges and our company website, and I hope you've had a chance to look at them. The year began with much awaited nationwide vaccination drive, which everyone's been talking about for so long. And I'm sure this will act as a big growth booster for all the sectors, including our business. The current quarter, which is quarter 3, saw sequential improvement in the economic activity in India, and the economy really opened up post the lockdown. However, in several international markets, there were economies that open up, and then lockdowns were reintroduced in countries like UK, Italy, Thailand, Indonesia, and some more smaller markets. As cases started rising there due to new strains, so we had some challenges in certain international markets, although we don't think that's going to impact our business negatively at all. But yes, the markets were shut for some time. In certain countries, the lockdown is still persisting. On the demand side, in the domestic market, which is India, the commercial real estate market has been a bit slow, but I think off late we're hearing that projects are opening up and contractors have invited for several bids and inquiries, etc. And I guess things will come back to normalcy on the commercial side also very soon. On the residential side of the market, we hear good news in most of the markets. Across the country, we hear that the residential market is doing pretty well, much better than the commercial market. And generally, with the entire atmosphere of lower interest rates, reduction in stamp duties, overall people have been potentially buying more homes. We also hear that consumers want to renovate homes, take larger spaces, upgrade the home. So this whole residential market, home improvement market in India, we see good things happening, and we're quite positive on the residential side of the market. And the commercial side too, as I said, we are looking forward for that market to also open up meaningfully in the coming few months. On the temporary challenges in the business, we had challenges on the supply chain, on the inwards and the outward from the factories, and these challenges were largely due to significant delay in vessel arrivals, significant delay or difficulty in obtaining empty boxes for exports, and the farmer agitations impacted both our plant locations. So really, if you look at the quarter, we did the team really worked hard to ensure the supply chain disruptions were minimized, and we went on to have one of the highest productions we've ever done in a quarter. Although we had a fair share of unbilled sales both for the domestic market and the international markets. The international revenue of laminates were slightly higher than the pre-COVID levels in Q3 of FY20, and the domestic business was close to 96% of pre-COVID in Q3 21. While the veneer and allied business, we still saw a little bit subpar numbers at a 65% of the numbers we achieved in quarter 3 FY20. But we're quite positive. We hope that in quarter 4, the veneer and allied category should also kind of largely normalize compared to a pre-COVID level, right? On the business updates, you probably have seen the disclosures. we have opened up 2 subsidiaries, one in Russia and one in Poland. These are largely to set up businesses in those markets in Eastern Europe and Russian CIS countries. We also have introduced new products in the Mikasa flooring category, which is the Mikasa Staircase Solutions. And on the engineered door category, we've had one of the most important CBRI certifications of fire rating, which is very difficult to obtain, very high, tight standards. So we've got that certification also in the last quarter. And besides that, on the South India plant, we are working on getting all the approvals of the government. So that plant, obviously, because of delays due to COVID and due to certain approvals, has got postponed. But we think, as we see things now, Q3 FY22, we should be able to commence building the plant, and one can assume that will probably take us about anything between 12 to 15 months from then to get into commercial production. So this is all broadly from my side, and by and large, we're very positive about how things are shaping up. And I will have Ashok take you through the financial and the operation highlights, post which we'll be happy to address your questions, suggestions, queries, if any. Ashok, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, friends. I'll take you through the financial.
We are not able to hear you, sir. We would request the participants to wait in the call, as the line for the management has gotten disconnected. Thank you for patiently waiting. We have the management reconnected. So you can go ahead, please.
Yeah, extremely sorry for the disturbance. Line got disconnected. Good evening, friends. I'll take you through the financial performance for the quarter. Please note that financial performance for the 9 months will not be comparable due to shutdown in the quarter 1. For quarter 3 FY21 on a consolidated basis, net revenue stood at 335 crore, a growth of 15.7% on quarter-on-quarter basis, and a degrowth of 6.5% on Y-on-Y basis. Gross profit stood at 174 crore, a growth of 23% on quarter-on-quarter basis, and a degrowth of 3% on Y-on-Y basis. Gross margin stood at 52.1%, an improvement of 320 basis points on quarter-on-quarter and 180 basis points on year-on-year basis. EBITDA stood at 57.9 crore, a growth of 43.1% on quarter-on-quarter basis and 6% on year-on-year basis. The increase in EBITDA was on the back of higher operational efficiencies. EBITDA margin stood at 17.3%, a growth of 330 basis point on quarter-on-quarter and 200 basis point on year-on-year basis. Net profit stood at 32 crore, a growth of 72.3% on quarterly basis and 10% on year-on-year basis. PAT margin stood at see a growth of 9.6%, a growth of 320 basis point on quarter-on-quarter basis and 150 basis point on Y basis. Moving on to segmental performance, laminate and allied product formed around 88% of our Q3 sales. Laminate revenue for the quarter stood at 296 crore in this quarter, a growth of 14% on quarter-on-quarter and a marginal degrowth of 0.5% on YoY basis. Domestic laminate revenue grew by 14.7% on Q-on-Q basis in value terms and a growth of 17% in volume terms. On YoY basis, domestic laminate revenue degrew by 4% in value terms and grew by 12% in volume terms. International laminate revenue grew by 14% on Q-on-Q basis in value terms and 24.6% in volume terms. On a YoY basis, international laminate revenue grew by 3% in value terms and 9% in volume terms. EBITDA margin for the laminate stood at 19.8%, a growth of 360 basis points on quarter basis and 140 basis points on year-on-year basis. Production volume were highest for this quarter and stood at 3.98 million sheets at a utilization level of 102%. Sales volume for the quarter stood at 3.9% for the reason as explained by Sir. Our average realization for the quarter stood at 736 rupees per sheet. Moving on to decorative veneer and allied product, which formed 12% of our Q3 sales. This includes decorative veneer, engineered floors and engineered doors. Total revenue stood at 39 crore in this quarter, a degrowth of 36% on YoY basis. In decorative veneer segment, revenue for this quarter stood at 25.7 crore, a growth of 74% on quarter-on-quarter basis and a degrowth of 23% on Y-on-Y basis. On a sequential basis, there is a in the veneer business, and the capacity utilization for the quarter stood at 32% as against 18% last quarter. Sales volume were at 0.36 million square meter as against 0.21 million square meter last quarter. Average realization stood at 694 rupees per square meter. Moving on to engineered wood flooring, revenue for this quarter stood at 8.4 crore, a degrowth of 7.5% on quarter basis. However, the capacity utilization improved from previous quarter, improved to 14% from 9% in previous quarter. Moving on to engineered doors. Doors revenue for this quarter stood at 4.9 crore, a degrowth of 29.7% on quarter basis. Capacity utilization for the quarter stood at 18%. Moving on to some performance on fund. Net debt for the quarter stood at 180 crore as against 249 crore at the end of previous quarter, resulting in a reduction of 69 crore in this quarter and 83 crore on YTD basis. Working capital also saw a very good improvement and improved to 306 crore as against 346 crore at the end of last quarter. In terms of number of days also, it has improved to 83 days from 109 days previous quarter. That's all from our side. I would now like to open the floor for question and answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and two. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Chandrasekhar from Laburnum Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, Nagraj here. Congrats on a good quarter given the tough base and prevailing circumstances. Since the business is back to normality, I had a few longer-term questions. If you look at the domestic laminate sales growth, the industry and for us, it looks like it's been roughly mid-single digits on average over the last 5 years. And we've been growing a bit slower than other peers who were a bit smaller than us 5 years ago. So just wanted to understand why this growth rate was so low compared to other building materials ancillaries. Is this because construction pace has been very low in terms of the number of houses built, if you look at any other metrics, etc.?
Hi, Nagraj. If you look at the past 5 years, I think it's been a bit rough 5 years in terms of demonetization, GST, slowdown in real estate, etc. And also in the last few years, we did not have a commodity product line also. So many companies which probably had commodity lines, they did grow top line better, but I think on an overall balance sheet perspective, on a margin perspective, I don't think they've done better than us. Each year, if you see, since we became an independent company, numbers of performance ratios in terms of laminates business, we're talking about per sheet realization, payment terms, margins, ROCs have largely all been improving. So I think going ahead, we should be able to, hopefully get better growth. And we've also raised some capacity in 2019. During the lockdown, we also added a commodity liner line which we did not have in the past. So that's also going to help us build some more volumes and some numbers. Does that make sense?
When you mean commodity, you mean the thinner laminates that have been growing faster than the thicker, more premium laminates we focus on, which is what we are looking to be more active on.
Yeah, so
how would the margins?
The thinner line also, which we did in, I think, Q2 of this financial year. And obviously, we're not going to drive too much numbers there, but we have launched a thinner line also, which really will help us probably get in more penetration to markets where we cannot, meaningfully be present at. So they'll help us get into some more counters, some more towns, markets of the country where with the thick only product, you could not, get into those markets. So this will help us do that, Nagraj.
Got it. And how would the margins be different between thick and thin products?
So surely the margins will be different, but one needs to see it, on a holistic perspective, because your investments on the thin line, because working capital investment is low, you don't have a very large range. Marketing spends are it's substantially lower. So RM costs will be higher in the thinner line, but operating costs, besides RM will all be low. And anyway, the channel, by and large, the distribution channel, the dispatches are the same. So one needs to see it, on an overall perspective. So if you see in Q3, we have improved our production levels, and margins have actually gone up despite the fact that we did produce some thinner material also. Because with additional production, you're able to absorb more overheads and costs also. Yeah. So that kind of helps the overall profitability of the business.
Yes. And on the export side, you've done really well in the last 2-3 years, added new markets and grown this piece significantly, and this quarter as well on a tough base. Just where are we now after the rupee depreciation versus the European and the American laminates companies? My guess is these are the main markets where we sell into right now. So just where are we cost-wise on a per sheet basis versus these companies, and what should be the rough mix of our export sales right now?
So, when we started the export business, it was more of a cost-driven model, while now, really, although we're still competitive versus the European producers and the US producers, more the European producers. So you can safely assume we'll be at least 10 to 15% lower price than the European producers. And the export market, we think, will continue to grow. And we see quite encouraging situations in the international markets. Although the overall market will probably grow at a fast, slower pace, but we'll end up taking market share from regional producers in various markets, whether it's European producers, whether it's US producers, or even some Southeast Asian producers, or some people in the Middle East. So we'll continue to take some market share from the regional and the local producers, Nagraj.
Got it. And just regarding Mikasa, which has been slower to recover, we did a very good job in FY19 and 20 ramping up capacity utilization here. But are you now seeing what really is the reason we're seeing slower pickup here? Number one, and number two, are we seeing increased competition from European manufacturers who have a lower cost base from China or from Eastern Europe on the high-end side, and from the Chinese exporters on the low-end side, where we sort of get squeezed in the middle with our products here?
So you're right on this observation, and pre-COVID this was absolutely relevant. In the current situation, what we've heard is that imports, people have not imported much material. The cost of freights gone up significantly, and cost of doing business with international suppliers for these domestic importers or big traders has gone up. So that's one part. The good part of both the businesses are the flooring and door are largely residential products, and we think over the next few years, the residential demand should go up, right? And the flooring and the door model is a larger play on the residential market than the commercial market. And probably in the last few years we have suffered, because of this mix. So I think going ahead, we see the business should recover, and also we'll probably end up taking share of imports in flooring and probably in doors also. So I think we're positive about how this can shape up in the future, Nagraj.
Just to add on, has there been any tariff or non-tariff protection given to us over the last year or two that has helped sales growth in 1920 or could help us?
No.
Okay.
Nothing has come to us. Whether the government will do something, I'm not sure on it. So no tariff support to promote the floor and doors as yet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Sneha Talreja from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir, and congratulations on the set of numbers, and thanks for the opportunity. I have 3 questions from my end. Firstly, as you mentioned that, doors and flooring ideally should have, seen faster growth because we are actually facing issues with respect to inward logistics and also ideally your imports should have been impacted and your doors and flooring should have done, better quarter and quarter. What are the reasons why there is extended losses or losses have widened compared to QOQ in both doors as well as flooring segment?
So the demand actually, you probably see, like we were saying earlier, we've had supply chain disruptions because of vessel and containers, and for the entire wood veneer business, whether it's a decorative veneer, whether it's a door or the floor. Most raw materials are imported, and we've had some challenges on that. That's one. We've had some export shipments which have happened, but they've remained unbilled, which will happen now. And probably this whole builder market where we are, focusing our door products on, we are seeing a lot of inquiries, but probably, in the last quarter, we haven't seen much of closure of those orders or even pending orders are there at the plant which we've not been able to execute. So yes, so the Q3, obviously the numbers are out there and it's visible, but I think we should get better. And like I said earlier in the call, in Q4 we think this whole segment should come to near normalcy, which is the veneer, flooring, and the door business.
Sure. So that actually just brings me to the point. So you said the demand has been normalized, but you were unable to supply that because of raw material constraints that you were unable to import.
Well, I said demand will get normalized in this quarter, so
okay.
There's a lot of discussion between customers and all that, but it hasn't really translated to revenues. Yeah.
Okay. Got that. So my second question is with regards to your margins. We have seen substantial improvement in your margins. This is despite your realizations coming down almost every quarter that we are seeing. And of course, since you've launched even commoditized product, how sustainable are these margins and where do you see long-term margins, heading towards in the laminates business?
So the laminates margin, I'm not sure whether this is sustainable or not. And reason being, in quarter 3, we had certain old purchases, old raw material costs, materials with a little bit lower costs. On the mix, the mix, although the price per sheet reduction has gone down, but because volume of production has gone up, so overall the overhead absorption expanded. In the export business, we had introduced several new products, which is now gaining a lot of traction. So several commodity products and exports have moved to value-added categories. So overall, and we've also done improvements at the plant, in terms of utilizations, in terms of wastage reduction, in terms of certain other, initiatives taken at the plant level, which is also controlled optimized our, costs. In the future, what margins can be maintained in laminates? Because as we talk right now, raw material costs have gone up in chemicals, in kraft paper. There's inward freight increase, there's outward freight increase in exports. We have implemented some price increase in quarter 3. We are implementing certain price increases in quarter 4. So I think like a 17-18% types to me, to us seems something which we hope that we can sustain unless something substantially goes right or goes wrong. Yeah.
So that was really helpful. And last question from my side would be, can you just specify some more details on the staircase solutions which you've launched? Are you going to do some more capex on this? And
there's no capex. No, there's no capex. It's more of a product development within the flooring section. So just very, very marginal capex. And it's a new product, so it's going to take time to really build business in the domestic market. It's more of communicating, to you all that we're trying to look at more application areas with our products. We just minor, capex. We are trying to develop more products and expand our potential market share or the market opportunity rather.
Sure. So this is one of the products that you must be mentioning in the earlier calls that you would be launching certain products, and maybe this is just one of them which is in line.
Yes. Correct.
Right. So got that. So thanks a lot, and I'll come back in the queue, sir, and all the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Achal Lohade from JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Sorry, I'm repeating probably the same question with respect to gross margins. In the laminate business. So you mentioned that you had certain old raw material, but I would presume that that cost would have been there even in the past quarter. So I am just curious to figure out, is there any write back of provision or any specific thing, because gross margins have improved QOQ when the RM cost has gone up from 49.9 to 53.7, almost 400 basis points, while the realizations are actually declined. So can you please help us understand it a little bit more?
Like I said, sure. So like I said, there have been several initiatives at the plant level. RM costs have been low. RM costs, we've had RM, at slightly lower costs. The subsidiary business has also, added to additional gross margins, which it did not add or it added lower gross margins in quarter 2. And wastage improvements have happened. We've taken certain other initiatives, in the product which has also helped us, get this there. So there's been no provision write back or any sort of creativity, when I say the word.
Understood. Can you help us understand what has been the extent of cost increase in case of the kraft and the other paper and the chemical cost?
Sure.
Broadly in last 3-4 months, what is the increase? And what is the blended cost increase effectively for us in the, for the laminate business?
So I'll give you just like a broadly, math. Of the RM cost in laminates, about 2/3 costs are from the paper side, and 1/3 is on the chemicals, approximately. Yeah? And the 1/3 part, which is chemicals, has probably gone up anything between 20 to 25% approximately. Yeah. The costs on the paper side, which is kraft and deco paper, some costs have gone up. Some we've had intimation from suppliers of prices going up, especially in deco paper, and certain costs will go up because of increases in sea freight. Right. So this is broadly, the approximately cost increases. Besides the cost increases, what's also happening is in certain raw material, not for us, for most of the other industry players, there is availability issue, which probably holds us in a good position because we've always been quite rich on inventory, as you see our inventory value and days. So that's probably helping us actually throw out more production and get more business in the market.
Sorry, I missed the paper. What is the increase in the cost of paper at the aggregate level?
Paper, I was saying, kraft. So in the paper, certain increases have happened. So kraft paper, you can assume costs have gone up anything between 6 to 8%. And deco paper, we've got communication from vendors of price increases, being implemented. We still have paper of the old costs, so their increases will be in the band of maybe probably 3 to 5% types, yeah. But there will be additional increase in sea freight costs because most of the deco paper is imported for us.
Right. And what is the price increase have we taken in the third quarter? And as you said, we are also expecting certain price increase in the fourth quarter.
Q3 we've taken about 2 to 3% increases in both domestic and international markets. And about in Q4, we will take some in February, some in March, and some will probably get spilled over to April. Another about 2 to 3%.
And sorry, I'm going into a little depth here. In terms of, is the price increase similar for other players as well, or the others are yet to follow the price increase what we have taken?
No, I think price increase for others are probably equal or higher also. And local companies have also increased prices. So I think either people have implemented price increase or they've announced increase. They've partially implemented, partially they will implement. So the entire industry has actually literally taken a price increase. Some have even taken it twice actually.
Sure. In terms of the global trade, I mean, we have some sense in terms of the global size of laminate industry, but is it possible to see, what is the actual traded volume, in terms of exports or imports, whichever term, globally, and what is India's market share in that?
I can't give you a math right away on that. I don't think we have so much of data with volume and trade, but you can connect with Ashok offline and we can see if something can be done.
Sure. And in terms of the domestic situation, how do you see, in terms of the competitive intensity, has it increased, remained stable, or kind of declined, what we've seen a few of the other building material categories?
I don't think intensity has increased. Like I was trying to say, we think that several players have significant supply chain disruptions. So probably that's helping us sell enough, maybe, right? Or sell whatever we can largely produce. So I would say by and large remains the same. I would say that, yeah. So probably it's come down a bit, I would say. Yeah.
Sure. And just last question, if I may, sir. With respect to the imports, what is the extent of imports we have of laminates in India in terms of the percentage of the volume or percentage of the market?
Laminate imports of what we know is very, very negligible, and whatever is happening is extremely high-end, laminate products in specialty categories, but nothing of much consequence.
Got it. This is very helpful. I'll come back in the queue for further follow-up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kunal Shah from Yes Securities. Please go ahead.
Kunal, I couldn't hear you. Can you start again? Hello?
Kunal, we would request you to please come off speaker.
Yeah. Is it audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so given the current laminate utilization level, the balance sheet positioning, and the fact that the 1.5 million sheet capacity of GSL has primarily focused towards export segment, aren't we planning to put another line or maybe increase the capex side? Given that obviously it's delayed, then why not come up with a bigger capacity, and provided that the current laminate utilization level has also peaked out?
So you have a very valid question. So the current utilization levels, we can go up to 110 to 115% utilization. That's point number one. By debottlenecking the plant by making it more productive, which we are doing, and we are hopeful to increase utilization from the current 100% to hopefully go up to 115% over the next few months. And your point on the 1.5 million sheets also makes a lot of sense in the current environment. So we are evaluating that, whether we should add more capacity in the new location, because we bought 65 acres of land, so there's enough space, and we were designing the plant for more number of production lines. We initially announced only 2 at that point, but yes, we are looking at that, Kunal.
Okay. Great to hear. And sir, the other question, just to repeat on the door and floor business, over the last 4 or 5 years, what you have seen. Now, I just want to understand whether it's the product acceptability that's an issue, or was it the tier 1 market not doing well an issue? So just putting it inversely, like let's say tier 1 market obviously is picking up and we are seeing green shoots for the same. Are we confident to profitably ramp up these 2 units, and what would be the time frame that you'll be looking at for the same, given that the investment yields have been on a lower side over the last 4 or 5 years for these 2 segments?
So yes, like FY 19-20, the numbers of door flow reached a near 100 crore revenue. So we moved up, and then again there was a little bit of a downfall, with this COVID thing.
Correct.
The confidence, is obviously there to build these businesses. The fact is, we haven't, until now, for whatever reasons, we haven't got there as yet. Yeah. So is there an acceptability problem? I don't think acceptability is a problem, because the product's quite well settled. Operation problems do come in. That's a different matter. That's with any product category. So there's no challenge from a acceptability perspective. Yes, we have to get there and get more markets and get more business and build this business actually. So like in FY 19-20, we were thinking that the year after that, we should come to at least a break-even perspective. And then COVID happened, and again things kind of slipped, and we are again building it up. So it should happen. When should it happen? Difficult to give you a time frame right now, because in the past I've given a couple of timelines and I failed doing that. So I want to just restrain myself giving some timeline, but we will build this up.
Okay, sure, sir. Good luck for the same. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 now. The next question is from the line of Dhiral Shah from PhillipCapital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir, and thanks for the opportunity. So my question is, of the overall laminate market, what percentage would be, let's say 1 mm size, what percentage would be below 1 mm, and what percentage would be above 1 mm?
difficult to give you a number right now, but we've noted this question, and I'm going to ask Ashok to, connect with you offline. And this will again be a very rough estimate of what is the total capacity in India, what's the actual utilization of factories, what is the thinner, what's below 1 millimeter, production percent. But surely below 1 millimeter is a far larger market, than 1 millimeter. So I'll ask Ashokji to, probably Ashok to.
Sure. And so secondly, one of the unlisted player have also come out with 1.25 mm. So are we also looking at that segment?
No, so the 1.25 is not new in India. So many people have it, but we are not looking at that category, because what happens if you have 1 millimeter and then you have 1.25 millimeter? So typically the smaller companies, they don't have inventory. They put the inventory to distributors. The range is limited. Then if you use 1.25, then you can't use 1 millimeter together with 1.25 because there's an undulation, on the surface or on the vertical, on the surface, whether horizontal or vertical. So we've examined this, but we've realized it doesn't make sense to just create another thickness and kind of create one more category. The working capital cycle, the volumes, the market challenges, it's not worked out for us that we should enter that space at all, because 1M is more than good enough, right?
Okay.
So really that additional 0.25 millimeter is not bringing any aesthetic value to the customer or any physical properties, enhancing any physical properties of the product. Yeah. So we decided to not be in that space because it's not needed to be in that space.
Okay. And so secondly, whatever the price in hike which we have taken, is it or will it be offset the cost inflation which we have seen later?
Yes, by and large, with both the increases of Q3 and Q4, which were in the process of implementing, once both these increases are implemented, we should be able to offset the cost increase.
Okay. And so lastly, regarding the export side, sir, we have seen the intermittent lockdown in regions like US and Europe. So does it have any impact on the export, market?
So until now, some markets, we've had impact, but some markets have, done better. So if you go very market specific, so yes, those markets at times, they have impacted business. But when you take an overall international business, because some other markets end up doing better, it kind of offsets those losses of some markets. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. That's it from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 now. The next question is from the line of Bhavin Chheda from Enam Holdings. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. For a good set of numbers.
Hello, Bhavin.
Just I missed out on laminates. What you said that gross margins, the raw material prices were lower and there was inventory you benefited. So have the margins normalized now back to 50-51% level in laminates?
So Bhavin, sometimes the gross margin is not just related to the RM cost and sales price directly, because you also, when you end up improving wastages, making improvements to the plant, that also impacts the gross margin percent. So my guess is maybe in the next 1 or 2 months, or maybe from February onwards, we probably will see some sort of reduction in the gross margin. I think my guess is till Jan, we should be able to maintain gross margin with the mix, and with the wastage improvement and with the previous procurements and the inventory we were carrying. But having said that, in the future also, to offset the reduction in gross margin, price increase implementation, continuous efforts on product development, value mix improvement, and ensuring that we don't lose volumes. We have the lower end of the market, which is the commodity liners, is being done. So we are able to hopefully, have slight reduction on the gross margin, but with improved output and improved production, manage or at least maintain or slightly, maybe we lose a little bit on the EBITDA margin. Yeah.
Okay. And decorative veneers saw higher volume, so that momentum would continue?
Ji, so in quarter 4, we expect decorative veneer business to come back to normalcy. Just in Q3, domestic laminate business overall on the value term was nearly equal to Q3 of FY20. We think the veneer business we could have done better in Q3 also, but we had some supply chain challenges that couldn't keep up with the demand, which we had at the factory. But in Q4, we think we should be able to come back to normalcy above it.
Sure. And what was the capital expenditure in first 9 months, and FY21 what would be, and what is the roadmap for FY22?
Yes, sure.
This year this up to 9 months is around 25 crore as of now, and overall will be in the range of around 35 to 40 crore within that period for this year.
In 21,
we don't have any specific capex plan, Bhavin. Some capex of this year will be spilled over because we have already ordered and that machine will be coming next year. We believe that around 25-30 crore in that range will be the capex.
And next year we'll also have some expansion capex, right? We are Greenlam South Limited is going ahead.
This is more. Yeah, this 25-30 crore is more of a routine capex for the existing plant. As sir has mentioned at the beginning of the call, that we plan to start, depending upon when we get the approval from the authority, we plan to start in the H2. So probably we will be able to update that how much expenditure we will be doing probably by end of this quarter.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhavin.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nehal Shah from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity, and congratulations on decent set of numbers.
Thank you, Nehal.
Sir, sir, on the realization side, now we have seen realizations being muted both on the exports as well as on the domestic front. When do you expect this to come back to normalcy? Considering the fact that we are now selling more volumes of the liners as well. So, do you expect them to come to normalcy going forward, probably at any time?
So, Nehal, like you said earlier, from this existing production which we've done in quarter 3, we're talking laminates, which is at 100% utilization, we can go up to 110 to 115% utilization. So I think as we expand more production of the plant, we'll have revenues going up of the commodity and the value-added category. So I'm not sure how much of this change will happen on the post-sheet realization, but increased volume will help us maintain, improve margins maybe in some cases, help us improve our working capital cycle. Our inventory will not increase, rather it'll decrease the number of days. Our data cycles will improve. But so on the post-sheet realization, it may not improve much, because you're also going to increase the denominator of quantity production there.
Right.
Yeah, but overall, the ROCs, the margins, the working capital cycles, I think all of that should improve now.
Right. So earlier we were looking at almost like 800 rupees a sheet kind of realization. Now probably it gets reset to 750, 760 kind of a thing.
It seems so now, because sometimes there's a compact business, some plus minus happens, but
yeah,
it should be in this band now. I think 750, 730, 750, some price increase implementation is pending. If I add that also, so another 15 rupees, $20 will go up. So I think that seems more appropriate and more reasonable, Nehal, to
yeah, and margins, you said 18% looks like sustainable number going forward.
17, 18, at the moment seems sustainable, Nehal.
Right. And so my last thing is on the opening up of subsidiaries in the Poland and Russian market.
Yes.
Can you give some color on the demand as to how demand or the size of the markets these markets are?
Size of the market, Nehal, can I give you offline, please? Because Eastern Europe is a significant and a very large market, because most of these Western European producers have their fabricating plants, the kitchen plants, the door plants, in Eastern Europe, like in Poland, in Czechoslovakia, in Hungary, in Romania and Slovakia. So and because we're going to expand and set up a new capacity in Andhra Pradesh, and they will be of various sizes, and we will be getting into these categories. Rather, the sizes and the categories we already ship to Europe, those capacities are running full, and we want to expand in that category, and those are the lines which will be expanding also in Andhra Pradesh. So exact size of the market, etc., maybe I will have Ashokji speak to you offline on that, please.
Yeah, but sir, why particularly these two markets? Anything we're seeing positives as far as these two markets?
No, so I will know why these two markets. So really, because we already have a UK subsidiary which is catering to the UK market. We have a subsidiary in Milan and Switzerland which is catering to the Italian, Switzerland, Austria, a little bit of German, those markets. So we don't have a base in these two markets, while we already have some direct exports happening. So now we're going to appoint one person each to start with in both these markets, and really create customers which are OEMs and distributors across this market. So we don't have a presence of our own team in those geographies currently, and in the other European markets we already have created a base name. That's why next stop is Poland and Russia.
So basically, we've seen some kind of green shoots here as far as the export opportunity is concerned. Does the
yes
warehousing model here?
No, so we're not starting with a warehousing here. We're just going to be marketing and building distributors and OEMs. It'll be a direct container shipment only. We're not going to create inventory there, at least to start with. In the future, whether we need an inventory in Poland or not is something we'll run the business for some more time and then make a decision on that.
Sure. And sir, sorry, one more question if I may. On the domestic side, have you started seeing pressure as far as the Morbi players are concerned, or the other regional markets? Are we seeing the availability in the market reducing, and does the market share gains for the branded players?
So Neil, like I was saying earlier, what we've heard and through our partners and through our teams and also through the suppliers which we know, the unorganized players are facing significant supply chain disruptions in terms of availability of certain chemicals, availability of decorative paper, because they were largely all buying from China, so shipment times, schedules, and they didn't have adequate inventory. So we believe many players, including, without taking names, a few organized players also are having challenges on supply chain side, and I'm sure that's helping us in improving our business here.
Thank you. We would request the current participant to please come back in the question queue for any follow-up questions, as we have several participants waiting for their turn. The next question is from the line of Saurabh Patwa from HDFC Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir, and thanks for taking the question.
Hi.
Hi. Just wanted to understand related to the previous participant's question. So when you say our realizations would come down from what we had in the past by maybe around like 7-8%, and margins would improve marginally, maybe around like 1-2%. But effectively, in absolute terms, you're targeting a similar kind of a EBITDA numbers. If I'm per square feet. Is that the target?
So maybe I couldn't explain nicely, or maybe I'm not able to follow you. So with the increased production, the incremental production utilization at the plants, the EBITDA margin, the incremental EBITDA margin. So let's say on our X production we were doing 18%. Now if I end up producing more incremental production, those margins go to maybe 25-30%. Even if you produce slightly lower value item production. So EBITDA value and margins. So margin percent probably because those products have a slightly lower margin, RM cost is slightly higher, kind of gets blended in, but EBITDA value should increase. And
so basically you're targeting absolute EBITDA growth versus the margin.
I'm not sure what I'm targeting, but we're targeting to run the business in a manner where we don't lose volume, and we also keep focusing on building the value mix which we've been doing for the last so many years, and our relations obviously are the highest in the industry. But the ability to build volumes in those high value or the value mix, is a gradual process. And because we're going to raise capacities, in South, and we'll have more production, and we are also improving our utilizations. We think by keeping a focus on both volume and improved value mix, with more absorption of overheads and costs, overall margins, ROCs, working capital cycle should all bring in improvements.
Great, sir. Get it, sir. Thanks a lot, sir, and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rishikesh Bhagat from Kotak Asset Management. Please go ahead.
So, thanks for the opportunity. Two questions from my end. First, on this 1 mm, has the volume share probably on or volume run rate, has it now reached to the pre-COVID level for you, or do you think still the urban centers have not opened that much that this volume run rate is yet to reach the earlier pre-COVID level? That's number one.
Okay, you can ask the next question.
Yeah. The second question is on the issue of container availability. Now, what's your sense relative to, say, last quarter? Has it eased out? And secondly, if it remains the way it is it anyway impacting your competitive position or ability to service the export market relative to the European peers, whom I believe might not be facing the same issues? That's two questions from my end.
So, appreciate your questions. So on the 1 mm, you're right. The urban centers, at least until Q3, have not normalized, which is Bombay, Thane, Delhi, Bangalore, Calcutta. But we see in January there's been an improvement in all these urban markets, and we hope that in this quarter we probably will see the urban markets come back to normalcy, which really means, which you rightly pointed out. So the 1 mm numbers, which are largely more specification, architect, ID, urban market driven, were lower in Q3 because these urban markets were not performing to that extent. But we think that will normalize in Q4. On the container availability, yes, container availability is a challenge, and we are managing the challenge because we ship to nearly 100 ports, and so its availability. It's in between we had the farmer strike, farmer agitation. The rail was blocked from the Himachal plant. We couldn't do ICD shipments, so we had to truck the goods. And then besides the availability of containers, there's also significant vessel delays. So that is potentially elongating our working capital cycle. While you might see in the working capital cycle that we've reduced our debtors days, etc., which really means that we can even do better than what we are doing if these problems were not there. So is it reducing our intensity versus European companies? Maybe not, because we already have inventory on ground in those markets. So it's not impacting the business from that perspective, but our flows could have been better had this not been there. But it's not something which is so out of control that we can't manage.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pradeep Poddar from Nippon India Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Can you just give us an idea of how was the December exit growth rates for you? Because, I understand it would be a glide path towards higher capacity utilization. So if you could just comment about on the domestic side as well as on the international, how were the exit rates for the month of December and how are you seeing January also? On the laminate side.
Okay. So when you say exit rate, you want to know the numbers of December only?
No, I don't want to know the number. I'm just trying to understand, say, the full quarter you were at 10% growth, right? Would December be much higher than that? And if you can give us a number, right, what was December like? Because I'm sure October, November, December, the utilizations would have increased on a sliding glide path on the upward trend. So just trying to understand.
So actually, through October, November, December, the utilizations were pretty okay. December, obviously, because the number of days were higher, so we ended up producing better. And January also, we've been able to maintain by and large the December numbers. So there's no reduction in Jan numbers. So I think we've been going pretty okay, starting October. So run rate of Jan was nearly similar to December numbers.
And would this be true of the industry also?
I cannot say that.
Okay.
I can't say that.
Okay. And when you say your capacity, was there a variance in domestic, international, or it was same, as in the growth rates were equally distributed?
No. So if you see Q3, laminates, if you see volume, the domestic volume went up by 12%, while value came down by 4%. Yeah. And exports volume went up by 9% in sales, while value was up by 6.6%. And the quantity and value could have both have been slightly better, had this logistic issue, not been there or was normalized. And that would hold, true for both domestic and exports, and more for exports and less for domestic. But the volume and value would have been better for both the categories, as we had unbilled, we had dispatches done from the factory, but we had goods, a lot of goods in transit, dispatched from the factory but could not reach the customer or could not be loaded onto the vessel, at the port.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We take the last question from the line of Abhishek Vora from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Just one basic question on the opening commentary that Mr. Ashok gave. There was some breakup on volume and value basis of domestic and exports. Just to clarify, domestic volumes grew by 12% and exports volume grew by 9%. Am I correct?
Correct.
And exports, and can you just brief about the on value basis, domestic and exports?
So domestic value was minus by 4%, and exports value was up by 6.6%. Yeah, correct.
Domestic value was down by minus 5%, right?
No, yeah, 5%, 4%.
And this is in terms of only laminates, right? Because there's a page in the presentation where we mentioned that the domestic growth has been 14.7%, whereas exports growth has been 14.1%. So what's the difference exactly? So where are
one growth is the sequential basis versus Q2 of this financial year.
Okay.
The other math I think we made is comparing it to the Q3 of FY20. So we made two comparisons versus Q2 21 and versus Q3 20.
Right. Because there's some other comparison as well where the domestic demand is 96% of the pre-COVID level and export demand is 103%. So like even there,
that's the revenue figure. That's the revenue figure.
All right. Okay. Thanks a lot. All the best.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the last question. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Saurabh Mittal for closing comments.
So, thank you, friends. Thank you for all your intelligent questions, and thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. And Ashok will connect with you independently for those for 2 or 3 of those queries we couldn't answer on the spot. And really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Have a great evening ahead.
Thank you. On behalf of Greenlam Industries Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.